Hana pressed her hands against the cold metal wall of the research station. Through the thick glass window, she watched the last ships of the Confederation fleet retreat from the battle zone. Black smoke and debris filled the space where brave soldiers had died just hours ago. "The Kepler defense line has fallen," Taewon said behind her. His voice was quiet and tired. "We lost everything. 12 fleets gone in 6 hours." Hana turned around to face the senior military advisor. His blue skin looked pale and his forearms hung loose at his sides. She had never seen him look so defeated. "How many ships did we lose?" she asked. "All of them," Taewon replied. "The Void Swarm ate through our shields like they were made of paper. Our weapons did nothing. Nothing at all." Nari looked up from her computer station. The young communications specialist had been working for 3 days straight. Her eyes were red and tired. "The other defense lines are reporting the same thing. The swarm learns too fast. Every weapon we use, they adapt to it in minutes." Hana walked to the center of the room where a large hologram showed the galaxy. Red markers showed where the Void Swarm had taken over star systems. There were too many red markers now. 12 entire star systems, billions of people all gone. "What about the emergency protocols?" Hana asked suddenly. Taewon looked confused. "What emergency protocols?" "The old ones. From before the Confederation was formed. I found them in the ancient archives last week." Hana moved to her research station and pulled up files on her screen. "Look at this." The others gathered around her. The text on the screen was old and hard to read. It was written in the first galactic language from thousands of years ago. "When all hope is lost and darkness covers the stars, send the call to the outer regions. Seek help from those who know war and death. But beware, for they may be more dangerous than your enemies." Taewon read the words twice. "This is just old mythology, Hana. Stories from the early days of space travel." "Maybe," Hana said. "But what if it's not? What if there really are others out there? Others who can fight?" Nari pointed to another part of the text. "Look here." It gives coordinates and instructions for a long-range beacon. "Those coordinates point to the restricted zone," Taewon said quickly. "No one goes there. No one has ever come back from there." "That's exactly why we should try," Hana argued. "If something lives in the restricted zone, something dangerous enough to keep us away, maybe it's dangerous enough to fight the swarm." The room fell silent. Outside the window, another explosion lit up the darkness as more Confederation ships died. "The Council will never approve this," Taewon said. "The Council is desperate," Hana replied. "In 2 weeks the swarm will reach the core worlds. In 1 month they'll take the capital. We have nothing left to lose." Nari was already working at her station. "I'm looking at the beacon instructions. It's possible. The old quantum transmitters are still working. I can send a signal to these coordinates." "This is madness," Taewon muttered. But he didn't try to stop them. 3 hours later, they stood in the council chambers. The Great Hall was filled with representatives from 100 different species. All of them looked scared and tired. The war was going badly for everyone. Chancellor Vex stood at the center podium. His green tentacles moved nervously as he spoke. "The situation is critical. Our fleets are destroyed. Our weapons are useless. If anyone has any ideas, speak now." Hana stepped forward. "Honored Chancellor, I request permission to use the ancient emergency protocols." A wave of confused whispers filled the chamber. Most council members had never heard of any emergency protocols. "Explain," Chancellor Vex said. Hana told them about the ancient text and the coordinates in the restricted zone. She explained about the long-range beacon and the possibility of finding help from unknown civilizations. "You want to contact aliens from the Death Zone?" asked Councillor Ket. His voice was high and scared. "That zone has been forbidden for good reasons. Strange signals come from there. Ships that go there disappear." "Exactly," Hana said. "Whatever lives there is strong enough to make us afraid. Maybe strong enough to fight the swarm. And maybe strong enough to destroy us all," Taewon added quietly. The council argued for an hour. Some members thought the idea was too dangerous. Others said they were already facing certain death, so any risk was worth taking. In the end, desperation won. "The motion is approved," Chancellor Vex announced. "Send the beacon." 2 days later, Nari finished preparing the quantum transmitter. The ancient beacon was powerful, designed to send messages across the entire galaxy. She had programmed it with the old coordinates and a simple message asking for help. "Are you sure about this?" Taewon asked one last time. "No," Hana admitted, "but I'm sure about what happens if we do nothing." Nari's finger hovered over the activation button. The message will take 3 days to reach the coordinates. If anything lives there and if they want to help us, they could be here in 2 weeks. And if they want to hurt us? Taewon asked. Then we'll be dead a little faster than we would be anyway, Hana said. Nari pressed the button. The transmitter hummed to life, sending a beam of energy into deep space. The message was simple: help us. We are dying. The void swarm is destroying everything. Please help. The beam shot across the galaxy toward the restricted zone, toward a small blue planet that the ancient records called Earth. The message would arrive at monitoring stations on the edge of that planet's solar system. It would be received by creatures that the galaxy had learned to fear and avoid. But Hana and her friends didn't know that. They only knew they had tried their last hope. Now all they could do was wait and pray that something in the darkness would answer their call. The war continued. More ships died. More worlds fell to the swarm. But somewhere in the restricted zone, the message had been received. And something was starting to move. Admiral Do-hyun sat in the command center of Luna Base, watching the alien message play for the 5th time. The translation software had worked hard to make sense of the strange language, but the meaning was clear enough. Someone far away was asking for help. Play the technical analysis again, he told the computer. Dr. Ji-won stepped forward from her workstation. As Earth's lead expert on alien life, she had been studying the message since it arrived 3 days ago. The signal came from outside our local galactic cluster. That's at least 40,000 light-years away. And you're sure it's real? Do-hyun asked. Completely real. The quantum signature is unlike anything we've ever seen. This civilization has technology we don't understand. Ji-won pulled up charts on the main screen. But here's the interesting part. In their message, they describe our solar system as a Class 12 deathworld. Do-hyun raised an eyebrow. Deathworld? According to their classification system, our planet is considered impossibly dangerous. They seem to think nothing should be able to live here. Ji-won looked puzzled. Their atmospheric readings show they breathe much thinner air than us. Their gravity is about half of Earth's, and they seem to be afraid of radiation levels that we consider normal. So they think we're monsters, Do-hyun said with a small smile. Pretty much. The message talks about emergency protocols and summoning the Deathworlders. I think they're so desperate that they're willing to contact the scary aliens they usually avoid. Captain Kyung-min entered the room. He was young for a starship captain, but he had proven himself in the Mars conflicts 2 years ago. Admiral, the fleet is ready. 6 ships including my vessel, the Indomitable. Are you sure 6 ships is enough? Do-hyun asked. For a first contact mission, yes. We don't want to look threatening. If they're already afraid of us, showing up with a battle fleet might make things worse. Ji-won nodded in agreement. We should assume they'll be terrified when they actually see us. Humans are probably larger and stronger than they are, based on our different evolution. All right, Do-hyun decided. Take your ships and make contact. Find out what this void swarm is and whether we can help. But be careful. We don't know what we're walking into. 2 weeks later, Captain Kyung-min's small fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Confederation territory. The first thing they saw was a massive debris field. Broken ships floated in space like metallic snow. My God, whispered Lieutenant Park at the sensor station. There must be thousands of ships here, all destroyed. I'm detecting life signs, reported Ensign Lee. Looks like 3 ships heavily damaged but still functioning. Kyung-min opened a communication channel. Unknown vessels, this is Captain Kyung-min of the Earthship Indomitable. We received your distress call. For a long moment there was only static. Then a weak voice replied in the same alien language they had heard in the message. The translation computer worked quickly. Earthship? You came from the death zone? This is Ambassador Soman of the Galactic Confederation. Please, we need help. We're sending a shuttle over, Kyung-min replied. Prepare for boarding. An hour later, Kyung-min and a small team boarded the Confederation ship. The airlocks had been designed for different species, but they managed to make them work. When the airlock opened, Kyung-min got his first look at aliens. Ambassador Soman was about 4 feet tall with blue-gray skin and large black eyes. She had 4 thin arms and moved carefully as if she was fragile. Behind her stood 2 other aliens of different species. One looked like a walking tree and the other had tentacles instead of arms. All 3 aliens stared at the humans with obvious fear. You're so big, Soman whispered. And you walk so heavily. Are you wearing armor? Kyungmin looked down at his normal uniform. "Oh, this is just clothing. But you're so dense, so solid. I can hear your heartbeat from here." Someone's voice was shaky. The old records were right. "You are Deathworlders." Dr. Ji-won stepped forward slowly, trying not to scare the aliens more. "We're here to help. Can you tell us about this void swarm?" For the next 2 hours, the aliens explained the situation. The void swarm was a species that consumed entire worlds. They were like living crystals that could adapt to any weapon used against them. In 6 months, they had destroyed 12 star systems and killed billions of people. "Our weapons are useless," explained Commander Bora, the tree-like alien. "They learn from every attack. After a few minutes, our best guns do no damage at all." "Show us," Kyungmin said. They transferred to the human ship where the aliens were amazed by how heavy everything felt. Earth's artificial gravity was twice what they were used to. The aliens had to wear special supports just to walk around. In the briefing room, the aliens showed holographic records of battles with the void swarm. The humans watched carefully as beautiful, crystalline creatures tore through Confederation. Fleets like they were made of paper. They're fast learners, observed Lieutenant Commander Jinwoo, the tactical officer. But they seem to learn in patterns. Very organized, very logical. "That's right," Bora said. "They adapt through quantum calculations. Perfect mathematics." "Interesting," Ji-won murmured. "What about random attacks? Unpredictable tactics? Random?" Soman looked confused. "Why would anyone attack randomly? That would be inefficient." The humans exchanged glances. They were starting to understand something important. "Ambassador," Kyungmin said carefully, "has your civilization ever fought a war before this one?" "War?" Soman thought about it. "We have had disagreements, political conflicts, but actual fighting? Not for thousands of years. The Confederation was built on peace." "I see." Kyungmin was quiet for a moment. "Would you like us to assess the enemy? We could send some ships to observe this void swarm." "You would do that?" Bora asked in amazement. "You would risk your lives for strangers?" "That's what we do," Kyungmin said simply. That night, after the aliens had been given quarters on the human ship, the officers met in private. "They've never seen real war," Jinwoo observed. "Their idea of tactics is mathematical. Efficiency, and the enemy adapts through logic," added Dr. Ji-won. "Perfect. Predictable responses to predictable attacks. So, what happens when they meet something unpredictable?" Kyungmin asked. "That's what we're going to find out," Lieutenant Commander Mira said with a grim smile. The next morning, they set course for the war zone. The aliens huddled together in their quarters, terrified but hopeful. They had summoned the Deathworlders, and now they would see what creatures from hell could do against an unstoppable enemy. But the humans weren't thinking about hell. They were thinking about Earth and all the hard lessons their world had taught them about survival, adaptation, and controlled chaos. The war was about to change. Commander Minho checked his equipment one more time before stepping into the shuttle. The Special Forces team was small, just 8 soldiers, but they were Earth's best. Behind him, combat engineer Yuna loaded her gear, including several experimental weapons that had never been tested in real combat. "Remember," Captain Kyungmin said over the comm, "this is observation only. We need to see how these void swarm creatures fight." "Understood, sir," Minho replied, but he had a feeling observation wouldn't be enough. The shuttle flew toward the Nexus sector, where the latest void swarm attack was happening. Dr. Junho sat quietly in the corner studying his medical scanner. As the team's medical officer, he was fascinated by the alien physiology data they had collected. "The Confederation species are so fragile," he muttered to himself. "Their bones are hollow like bird bones. Their muscles are weak. No wonder they're losing." "Oh, what's that, Doc?" asked Sergeant Kiwon. "I've been analyzing their biology. These aliens evolved on worlds with low gravity and thin atmosphere. They're not built for fighting." Junho shook his head. "A human child could probably overpower one of their soldiers." Through the shuttle windows, they could see the battle zone ahead. Flashes of light marked where ships were dying. Even from a distance, it was clear the Confederation was losing badly. "There," Minho pointed. "Confederation refugee convoy under attack." 3 large transport ships were trying to escape while small crystalline fighters swarmed around them like angry wasps. The transports had only light weapons and couldn't fight back effectively. "They're going to die," Yuna said quietly. Minho made a decision. "Change of plans. We're going in." "Sir." Orders were to observe only, the pilot reminded him. Sometimes you have to break orders to do what's right, Minho replied. Take us in fast and hard. The human shuttle accelerated toward the battle. Immediately, several Void swarm fighters broke off from attacking the transports and came after them. Here they come, Yuna announced. She was already at the shuttle's weapons console. Let's see how they like human engineering. The first swarm fighter fired some kind of energy beam. It hit the shuttle's shields and made them flicker but didn't break through. Their weapons are designed for those weak alien ships, Yuna laughed. Our shields are rated for solar radiation and asteroid impacts. She fired back with the shuttle's railgun. The metal slug hit the crystalline fighter at incredible speed and shattered it into 1,000 pieces. One down, she announced. But something strange happened. The other swarm fighters immediately changed their attack pattern. Their energy beams became more focused and hit harder. They're adapting, Minho observed, just like the alien said. Good thing we have more than one trick, Yuna replied. She switched to missiles. The swarm fighters tried to intercept the missiles with their energy beams, but human missiles were designed to be tough. They punched through the defensive fire and exploded against the crystalline hulls. They're having trouble adapting to multiple weapon types used at the same time, Yuna noted. Their learning process is fast but focused. Meanwhile, Minho was studying the swarm fighters themselves. Look at how they move. Perfect formation flying. Mathematical precision. No wasted motion. Efficient, agreed Dr. Junho. But also predictable. The shuttle reached the refugee convoy. The transport ships were heavily damaged and one was starting to break apart. Can we dock with them? Minho asked. Negative, the pilot replied. Their docking systems are too small for humans. Then we go in the hard way. Minho grabbed his spacesuit. Yuna breached the hull. We're boarding. 5 minutes later, Minho and his team were cutting through the hull of the damaged transport. Inside, they found hundreds of alien refugees huddled in fear. The ship's crew was dead, killed when swarm fighters had punched holes in the bridge. We're here to help, Minho announced through his translator. The refugees stared at him in terror. To them, he looked like a giant metal monster. His spacesuit was bulky and heavily armored, designed to protect humans from the deadly environment of space. Deathworlder, one of them whispered. Dr. Junho was already working on the wounded. His medical techniques seemed brutal to the aliens, but they worked. He used pressure bandages that would have crushed their bones if applied incorrectly, and injected medicines that were incredibly strong by their standards. Your healing methods are so aggressive, observed one of the surviving alien medics. We're used to fixing people who have been hurt badly, Junho replied. Broken bones, radiation poisoning, decompression injuries. You learn to work fast and hard. Meanwhile, Yuna was repairing the ship's engines. The alien technology was delicate and elegant, but also complicated. She had to use human tools and techniques to fix systems designed for completely different hands. This is beautiful work, she admitted, but it's not built to take damage. One good hit and everything stops working. Our philosophy is different, explained the alien engineer who was helping her. We build for efficiency and elegance. We build for survival, Yuna replied. Outside, more swarm fighters were approaching, but now they were facing something they had never encountered before. A human combat team that had had time to set up defenses. Minho had positioned his soldiers throughout the convoy. They used the refugee ships as cover and fired from unexpected angles. Their weapons were powerful and built for reliability rather than elegance. The swarm fighters tried to adapt, but every time they changed tactics, the humans changed too. When the swarm learned to dodge railgun shots, the humans switched to lasers. When the swarm adapted to laser frequency, the humans used missiles. They can't keep up, Sergeant Kiwan observed. They're designed to fight enemies who attack the same way every time. And we never attack the same way twice, Minho agreed. The battle lasted for 6 hours. The humans fought in shifts, rotating so that some soldiers could rest while others kept fighting. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans kept going long after their own people would have collapsed from exhaustion. How do they do it? Wondered one of the refugees. They've been fighting for hours without stopping. Deathworlders, the alien medic replied quietly. They're built for this. When the last swarm fighter was destroyed, Minho's team had saved all 3 refugee ships. More importantly, they had learned valuable information about their enemy. The swarm adapts through pattern recognition, Minho reported to Captain Kyungmin. They're incredibly smart, but they think in terms of logical systems. They expect enemies to behave rationally. And humans? Kyungmin asked. Humans are controlled chaos. We adapt faster than they can learn. That night, as the refugee convoy limped toward safety, the alien survivors talked quietly among themselves about what they had seen. The humans had fought like nothing in their experience. Not with elegant tactics or efficient strategies, but with stubborn determination and creative violence. Commander Bora, who had watched the entire battle, sent a message to the Confederation Council. I have seen the Deathworlders fight, she reported. They are everything the old records warned us about. They are brutal, unpredictable, and absolutely terrifying. They are also our only hope. The message concluded with a simple request. Send more humans. Rear Admiral Seungwoo stood on the bridge of the battleship Titan's Hammer, watching as his fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Behind him came 47 human warships, the largest force Earth had ever sent beyond the solar system. My God, whispered Ambassador Soman from her position at the side of the bridge. Your ships are enormous, she was right. The smallest human ship was twice the size of the largest Confederation vessel. The battleships were like floating mountains of metal and weapons. We build for durability, explained Chief Tactical Officer Yunbi. Our ships need to survive asteroid impacts, solar flares, and hostile boarding actions. But the power requirements must be incredible, Soman said. That's what fusion reactors are for, Yunbi replied with a smile. Engineering Corps leader Dong Hyun was already studying readouts from the Confederation fleet. Their ships are works of art, he admitted, but they're also fragile. One serious hit and they're crippled. Can you help them? Admiral Seungwoo asked. I can try. We'll need to retrofit their vessels with human armor and shields. It won't be pretty, but it will keep them alive. Across the communication channels, alien voices were reporting in amazement and fear. The human fleet was unlike anything they had ever seen. Where Confederation ships were sleek and elegant, human ships were angular and brutal. They looked like they had been built for war. Attention all vessels, Admiral Seungwoo announced. This is Rear Admiral Seungwoo of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to help you retake Nexus Prime. Nexus Prime was a major Confederation world that had fallen to the Void Swarm 2 weeks ago. The planet held 6 billion people who were now trapped under swarm occupation. Sir, reported Captain Yemen from the destroyer Swift Strike, I'm detecting massive swarm presence around the planet. At least 200 ships. Understood. All ships, prepare for combat. The alien commanders watched nervously as the human fleet formed into attack formation. It wasn't like anything they had seen before. Instead of the neat geometric patterns favored by Confederation tacticians, the humans spread out in what looked like random chaos. What are they doing? Asked Captain Johan of the Confederation cruiser Peaceful Dawn. Creating confusion, Admiral Seungwoo replied. The swarm expects logical attack patterns. We're going to give them something else. Pilot Inho sat in the cockpit of his fighter, the Stingray. Around him, 200 other human fighters prepared for launch. Unlike the elegant alien fighters, human craft were built like flying tanks. All fighters, this is Stingray Leader, he announced. Remember, we're not trying to be efficient. We're trying to be unpredictable. Copy that, Stingray Leader, came the replies from his squadron. The human fleet approached Nexus Prime at high speed. The Void Swarm moved to intercept them, their crystalline ships forming perfect defensive arrays. Enemy fleet in range, reported Yunbi. All ships, engage at will, Admiral Seungwoo ordered. What happened next shocked the Confederation observers. Instead of coordinated volleys or systematic targeting, the humans opened fire in what looked like complete chaos. Every ship fired different weapons at different targets using different tactics. The swarm tried to adapt, but there was nothing consistent to adapt to. One human ship would fire railguns while another used missiles while a third used lasers. Some ships attacked from long range while others charged in close for boarding actions. They're using ramming attacks, Captain Johan observed in horror. They're deliberately colliding with enemy vessels. It's working, Admiral Seungwoo replied calmly. The swarm can't figure out how to defend against controlled crashes. Fighter pilot Inho led his squadron in a diving attack that no logical pilot would attempt. They skimmed through the atmosphere of Nexus Prime, using the planet's gravity to slingshot around and hit the swarm fleet from below. This is insane, his wingman reported. The heat stress should tear our ships apart. Should but won't, Inho replied. Human engineering. The swarm fighters tried to follow the same maneuver, but their elegant crystalline hulls couldn't handle the atmospheric stress. Several of them broke apart before reaching space again. On the surface of Nexus Prime, the trapped aliens watched the battle in the sky with amazement. The human ships moved like living things, constantly changing tactics and throwing themselves into situations that should have been fatal. Engineering leader Donghyun's teams were working frantically to retrofit Confederation ships with human technology. They welded armor plates onto elegant hulls and installed powerful human shield generators. "This is destroying the artistic beauty of your ships," he apologized to the alien engineers. "We don't care about beauty anymore," replied Chief Engineer Narration, a Confederation officer. "We just want to live." The retrofitted alien ships immediately proved more effective in battle. They could take hits that would have destroyed them before, and their weapons hit harder thanks to human power systems. But the real breakthrough came when Dr. Junho made an important discovery. "Admiral," he reported from his medical station, "I've been analyzing swarm tactics. They're not just adapting to our weapons, they're trying to adapt to our biology." "Explain," Admiral Sungwoo ordered. "They're scanning us, trying to understand how we think, but they can't process the data fast enough. Human neural patterns are too chaotic for their quantum computers. So our crazy thinking is actually protecting us?" "Exactly. They expect logical decision-making processes. Human intuition and emotion confuse their analysis algorithms. This information changed everything." Admiral Seungwoo immediately ordered all human commanders to trust their instincts over their training. "Fight like humans," he announced. "Be angry, be scared, be determined. Don't think too much. Just react." The results were dramatic. Human ships began pulling off maneuvers that made no tactical sense but somehow worked. They sacrificed efficiency for surprise, trading elegant solutions for raw effectiveness. The Void Swarm, for the first time in their expansion, began to retreat. "They're falling back," reported Captain Jaemin in amazement. "Pursuit course," Admiral Sungwoo ordered. "Don't give them time to regroup." The battle for Nexus Prime lasted 18 hours. When it was over, the Void Swarm had been driven from the system entirely. The planet was free, and 6 billion aliens owed their lives to the Deathworlders from Earth. But the victory came at a cost. Several human ships had been damaged or destroyed. Worse, the swarm had learned valuable lessons about human tactics. "They'll adapt," warned Commander Bora. "Next time, they'll be ready for our chaos. Then next time, we'll be even more chaotic," Admiral Sungwoo replied. As the fleet regrouped around Nexus Prime, alien refugees streamed up from the planet's surface. They looked at the human ships with a mixture of gratitude and terror. The Deathworlders had saved them. But they had also shown the galaxy something new. War fought not with mathematics and logic, but with controlled madness and stubborn determination. The real war was just beginning. Supreme Fleet Admiral Hyunwoo looked at the star map with satisfaction. Red markers still showed Void Swarm territory, but now there were blue markers too. Human forces had liberated 6 star systems in 3 months. The tide of war was turning. "Status report," he requested. Strategic Coordinator Susie stepped forward with her tablet. "The Deathworld doctrine is working perfectly. Every time the swarm adapts to our tactics, we change to something even more unpredictable. Casualties? Lower than expected. Human ships are built tough, and our medical teams are keeping most wounded soldiers alive." Susie paused. "The aliens are still amazed by our survival rates." That was an understatement. Dr. Junho's medical teams were performing miracles by alien standards. Injuries that would kill a Confederation soldier were considered minor wounds to humans. The psychological effect on both allies and enemies was enormous. Marine Corps General Chan Woo entered the command center, still wearing his combat armor. His ground forces had just finished liberating another swarm-occupied world. "The hive structures are getting smarter," he reported, "but they're still thinking like machines. They can't handle random human behavior." Intelligence Officer Minji looked up from her analysis station. "General, I think I've found something important. The swarm isn't really adapting randomly. They're following patterns even when they try to be unpredictable." "Show me," Admiral Hyunwoo ordered. Minji brought up a complex display showing swarm battle patterns over the past 3 months. "Look at this. Every time they adapt, they do it in the same mathematical sequence. They're trying to outthink us, but they can only think in logical steps. And humans? Humans skip steps. We make intuitive leaps that don't follow logical progression. The swarm's quantum computers can't predict that. This was exactly what they needed to hear. Admiral Hyunwoo called a meeting with all senior commanders. "We're going to end this war," he announced. "Not by being smarter than the swarm, but by being more human than they can handle." The plan was audacious. Instead of continuing the slow planet-by-planet liberation, they would strike directly at the swarm's central hive system. It was defended by thousands of ships and was considered impregnable. "The Confederation has been avoiding the core system because it's too dangerous," explained Admiral Hyunwoo. "That's exactly why we're going there." Captain Inho was assigned to lead the fighter assault. His pilots had become legends among the Confederation forces for their impossible flying maneuvers. "Remember," he told his squadron, "we're not trying to be the best pilots. We're trying to be the most unpredictable pilots." "Sir," asked Lieutenant Sunho, "what if we encounter the primary overmind? Then we show it what happens when logic meets madness." The assault fleet was massive. 200 human ships supported by 500 retrofitted Confederation vessels. It was the largest force ever assembled in galactic history. As they approached the swarm core system, they encountered something new. The Void Swarm had created defensive patterns specifically designed to counter human tactics. "They're learning," observed Susie nervously. "Good," Admiral Hyunwoo replied. "Let them think they understand us." The first wave of swarm defenders came out to meet them. Their attacks were more random than before, trying to match human unpredictability. "They're copying our chaos," reported Captain Jamin. "But they're doing it logically," noted Minji. "Mathematical randomness isn't the same as human intuition." The human fleet responded by doing something completely unexpected. They followed perfect formation flying and used textbook tactics. The swarm, prepared for chaos, was caught off guard by order. "Switch," Admiral Hyunwoo ordered after 10 minutes. Immediately, the human fleet broke formation and returned to their chaotic fighting style. The swarm, trying to adapt, couldn't keep up with the rapid changes. Fighter pilot Inho led his squadron on a suicide run toward the central hive. They flew straight through the heaviest defenses, taking massive damage but not breaking formation. "This is insane," his wingman reported. "We should all be dead." "Death is just another variable," Inho replied calmly. "And humans are good at managing variables." They reached the primary hive structure, a massive crystalline formation the size of a moon. Inside that structure was Wonho, the swarm's central intelligence. General Chanwoo's Marines were already boarding other hive ships throughout the system. Unlike previous battles, this time they weren't trying to destroy the swarm, they were trying to capture it. "Remember," Chanwoo told his troops, "we want the Overmind alive. It's time for a conversation." The Marines fought their way through crystalline corridors that pulsed with alien intelligence. The swarm defenders were perfect killers, but they were also perfectly predictable. Human soldiers trained in chaos and improvisation cut through them like they were made of glass. Dr. Junho's analysis had revealed something crucial. The swarm's central intelligence was biological, not mechanical. It could be reasoned with if approached correctly. "There," Sergeant Kaiwan pointed to a massive chamber at the heart of the hive. "That's where the readings are strongest." They blasted through the final barriers and found themselves face to face with Wonho, the Void Swarm Overmind. It was beautiful and terrible, a crystalline being the size of a building pulsing with energy and intelligence. Around it, smaller swarm creatures moved in perfect mathematical harmony. "Deathworlders," the Overmind spoke through sonic vibrations. "You should not exist. Your chaos should not work." "But it does work," General Chanwoo replied. "That's the point. We have consumed 12 star systems. We have learned from every battle. We should be invincible. Against logical enemies, yes, but humans aren't logical." For the first time in its existence, the Overmind experienced something new: doubt. "Your adaptation protocols are perfect," Chanwoo continued, "but they assume your enemies will follow patterns. Humans don't always follow patterns. Impossible. All intelligence follows mathematical principles. Human intelligence includes things your math can't measure. Emotion, intuition, stubbornness, hope. These aren't logical, but they're real." The battle raged around them as Chanwoo and the Overmind continued their philosophical argument. Human and swarm forces fought throughout the hive system, but the real war was being fought with words and ideas. "You want to consume everything," Chanwu said. But humans want to protect everything, even strangers. Even people we've never met. Illogical, yes, completely illogical. And that's why you can't beat us. The Overmind was silent for a long moment. Around the chamber, swarm creatures stopped moving as their leader processed this new information. Finally, Wanho spoke again. What do you propose? Coexistence. The galaxy is big enough for both of us, but you have to stop consuming other species. And if we refuse, then we'll keep fighting you. Forever if necessary. That's another illogical human trait we never give up. The negotiation took 6 hours. In the end, the Void Swarm agreed to withdraw to the outer rim of the galaxy. They would consume only empty worlds and dead systems. In return, the humans would share some of their chaotic thinking patterns, helping the swarm understand concepts beyond pure logic. When the news reached the Confederation, celebrations erupted across 100 worlds. The war was over, won not by superior firepower but by superior unpredictability. But the real victory was more subtle. The galaxy had learned that there were different kinds of intelligence, different ways of solving problems. The Deathworlders had taught them that sometimes the best solution wasn't the most logical one. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching as human and alien ships worked together to rebuild what the war had destroyed. What happens now? Asked Ambassador Soman. Now we learn from each other, Hyunwoo replied. You teach us about efficiency and elegance. We teach you about adaptation and determination. And if there are other threats in the future, then the galaxy will be ready. Because now it has Deathworlders fighting alongside Dreamers. The message went out across the galaxy. Earth had joined the Galactic Confederation as its official emergency response force. When logic and reason failed, when elegant solutions couldn't solve impossible problems, the call would go out to the Deathworld, and humanity would answer, bringing their controlled chaos and stubborn hope to fight whatever darkness threatened the stars. The age of perfect logic was over. The age of human solutions had begun.